Game 3 of the World Series goes down as one of the wildest in history. 18 innings, a roller coaster of emotions. Shohei Ohtani, he set the tone early. Will Klein was unbelievable out of the bullpen. And of course, Freddie Freeman did it again. Now, can LA put Toronto against the ropes?
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The Dodgers survive a marathon for the ages. A World Series Game 3 that felt like 2 games in 1. Shohei Ohtani was the MVP of the first half. Will Klein was the hero of the second. And Freddie Freeman, he sent everyone home with one beautiful, perfect swing. The Dodgers now lead the World Series 2-1, and Travis Ravine was electric, Travis.
Yeah, it's not often you get to show up and say, I think I just watched the greatest baseball game I've ever seen in my entire life, and say it with a straight face. And that's what we got last night. And today's episode of Locked On Dodgers is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. That was bonkers.
Go to Gametime, get tickets, and go to Dodger Stadium today if you can.
Right.
He's Travis Rodgers. I'm Harry Ruiz. Two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. You can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA on the radio or the ESPN LA app on your phone from 3 to 6 p.m. with the Travis and DeMarco Show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the USC Football Trojans and the Las Vegas Raiders. But nothing, absolutely nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love most, talking Dodger baseball with you. To everyone who's new here, welcome and thank you for joining us. We're pumped to have you as part of the Locked On Dodgers family. To our everydayers, you're the reason why we do this. Because of all of your support, you've helped us now get the top 6 most watched episodes on our YouTube channel's history. So if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like our content, and drop a comment. Or better yet, hit us up on our listener line at 2793-LOCKED or 279-356-2533. Leave your name. That's very, very important. Leave your name. If not, we can't play your audios, where you're listening from, and your take on Dodger baseball. Voicemail or text us to have a shot of getting featured on our show. Ohtani, Klein, the dual MVPs of Game 3 of the World Series. The first half of Game 3 belonged to Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani reminded everyone why he's the most complete player on the planet and in baseball history. He was seeing the baseball like a beach ball. 4 for 4, 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and then Toronto decided to take the bat off of his hands. They quit by walking him his next 5 at-bats, which Travis ended up being the right decision.
Yeah, absolutely. It was the right decision. I'm glad they didn't decide to do that a couple of at-bats sooner. Shohei, you know, I wish I were a smarter man, Harry, with a wider vocabulary and was more articulate, because, you know, you and I, we get paid to be able to describe things effectively and put them in the context that they deserve to be put in. And I don't have the words to talk about what Shohei Ohtani has done yet last night, what he might do tonight, what he's done in his career. It is the most extraordinary performance. And every time you think you've seen the outer limits of what he might be able to do, he does more. And that's what he did last night. He hit 2 more home runs. He had 2 more doubles. And they basically said, blanket anybody but him. They're walking guys to get to Hall of Famers. They're loading the bases. They're putting tying and go-ahead runs in scoring position, and literally anybody but him. And I think it's the right decision. I would not be surprised at all, and this is crazy to say at all, that when Shohei Ohtani strides to the plate to lead off the game in the bottom of the first inning, if they just say, blanket, put him down there, we're done with this guy. We're not doing it anymore. That's how good he was. A whole nother series of articles being written about how this has either never happened or it happened once a million years ago, and the dude that did it was named Babe Ruth. He continues to set the bar higher and higher of what's capable or what's possible for a Major League Baseball player. It is an honor to get to watch it. It is a thrill that we get to watch it as Dodger fans, and he's doing it in a Dodger uniform. But Shohei Ohtani continues to defy explanation, defy what is possible in a baseball player. And it is just a real, genuine treat to be alive to see him do what he does.
What were they saying in Toronto, Travis?
We don't
need him. We don't need him. It's all right. You don't need him. I felt like we'll take him, right? He's ours. He's been with the club for 2 years. He's got 8 more years in his contract. We'll take him. I was looking at his plate appearances since in his last 2 games at Dodger Stadium, and they are nuts. 5 home runs, 2 doubles. He was walked 4 times yesterday, 5 times, 4 of them intentionally, 1 more from the previous game. It was ridiculous. It's crazy. And that's the type of baseball player. The thing here, Travis, is the consistency, because yesterday when we had that show asking the question if the Dodgers should bench Andy Baez, we had people calling in, well, what about Teoscar Hernandez? Well, what about Shohei Ohtani? They've been inconsistent. Why aren't you asking the question about these guys? And we go over to what happened yesterday. Teoscar Hernandez, he got that first home run to open the score early in the game in the 2nd inning. He got another hit later in the game. He has been more consistent.
And made a couple of great plays in the outfield to cut down runs at the plate. I mean, it was, look, no one's going to confuse Teoscar Hernandez with Roberto Clemente out there in right field. We understand that, but dude, I mean, every single guy in a Dodger uniform last night did something at some point to help that team win. And just kind of going back to Ohtani for a second, because I still have a smile on my face. It's been, it's been 7 hours since the game ended or whatever it was, and I'm still just absolutely peaking about it. But one of the things I loved about seeing Ohtani was even after the game had ended and Freddie had walked it off and what, Kershaw did there's so many guys that we can get into. Ohtani's got this smile on his face like he's a little leaguer. He's running around. He's jumping on top of guys. He's the first guy at the pile. Like, he just has this incredible enthusiasm that, as blown away as we are by it, it's almost like he too is kind of like, yeah, this is, I don't know, man. I was given these gifts to go do these things, and he's enjoying it as much as we are. It was unbelievable. And I'm the only part about me that's a little teeny tiny bit sad is that it's almost over for this season, because when he's on one like this, it's like, can we play 3 games a day? Because I just want to continue to watch him do what he does. He's extraordinary.
And Shohei's a player who's pretty much like Mookie, where with the bat, he lets his teammates celebrate. He lets the fans celebrate, and he just rounding the bases. He does his celebrations and whatever. Yesterday, you saw that emotion out of him. You saw that excitement that, hey, we're in the biggest stage possible in club baseball, and we're doing this thing right now, because we know also he already did this kind of thing before over in the World Baseball Classic, and he's going to do it again next year. And I won't blame people if they're fans for the U.S. or Mexico or Venezuela or whichever other national team is in it, and they play Japan and Shohei Ohtani hits a bomb and they all stand up and applaud and celebrate, because it's that kind of situation.
I'll do it. Look, he could take who could put Paul Skeens out there in the WBC for Team USA or whatever, and like, I'll be rooting for him, but you're not going to ever find me rooting against Shohei Ohtani on a baseball field. Not ever. I mean, it was an amazing performance. And what's so weird, Harry, about that game last night is I don't want to say that Shohei's performance will get lost in the shuffle, because it was too good to get lost in the shuffle. But it's almost like it happened in a separate game, because everything that he did came in the first part of the game, in the first 9 innings of the game. Then everything else that happened in the next 9 innings of the game, he really wasn't involved in, other than, they walked him a few times because, like we talked about, it was like, no. I don't care. He's getting the Bonds treatment. We're not letting him beat us. And then everybody else in the Dodger lineup had a moment that was just like, I love you, man. Like, I can't believe that we're talking about Edgardo Henriquez, and Clayton Kershaw was amazing. And just every single, Emmett Sheehan was amazing. Every person that went out there contributed to that win. They emptied the bullpen. They used every position player other than Dean and Rortvedt. It was just so much fun to watch. I loved every single second of it.
He didn't take a single swing after the 7th inning of the game when he tied it with a solo home run. How about that? And
Yeah.
if you're watching the show on YouTube or on other platforms, you can see on the graphic, I put Show MVP of game 3.1, Klein MVP of game 3.2, because I do a lot of work behind the scenes and I'm like, okay, doing the topics and we're going to dive into the defense. It was going to be a whole segment by itself. Once the game ended, I was like, no, we got to talk about Shohei Ohtani in the first half of the game. And we got to talk about Will Klein in the second half of the game, because, oh my God, as the game wore on, Travis, the Dodgers needed a bullpen that has been very highly criticized, including by me, by you, over the last couple of months, and an unexpected hero delivered. Will Klein, the last guy available out of the bullpen, took over from the moment he took the mound in the 15th inning. Travis, 15th inning is when this guy came in, when this kid came onto the field, and he was out there until pretty much the game ended for the boys in blue. You were talking about 72 pitches for a guy who had never gone over 33 in a baseball game.
Yeah, no, this was just a couple of different things. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox today because today's not the day to do it. There will be other days to do that for sure. That's why you got to be an everydayer to hear all the things that we talk about. But this goes to show you that this nonsense about pitch counts and you got to do this is like, these guys can pitch longer. They can pitch effectively longer. They can find another level that they can go to. Will Klein was put on this roster simply because it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe there'll be some wild, crazy game that goes 12 innings. Then we're going to need this guy. Maybe there's going to be a game where we're ahead 10 runs or behind 10 runs, and we don't want to use any of the guys that we're going to have to use. Or maybe Will Klein is a World Series hero because he goes to a level that he has never been to in his professional life. Will Klein's career ERA is over 5, and he went out there and threw 4 basically perfect innings in the World Series against a really good team under the highest stakes possible, knowing that there was nobody in the backside of the bullpen to back him up, that he was going to win or lose that game, on his own. There's no off ramp, like taking nothing away from Kershaw or Sheehan or any of the guys that went out there. But this was hey, just get out of this inning and I'm out of here, man. I don't have to worry about it. This is somebody else's problem. Well, it was Klein's problem all night long. Once we got into those late innings, and he stepped up and he delivered in a way that I think anybody would have been. You could have been prime Dennis Eckersley or Mariano Rivera or any of these lights out closers that we've seen over the years. And Will Klein for a night was just as good as all of them. And it was a pleasure to see it. I don't know. He probably doesn't throw another pitch the rest of this World Series. I can't imagine there's another role for him, especially after emptying the tank the way he did. But what an amazing way to go out. What an amazing way to kind of put your stamp on a series that, yeah, he's probably going to have a World Series ring at some point when this thing is all said and done. He can show his grandkids, but it's not like, yeah, I was the 26th guy on the team and never got in. I won the damn game for my team in an 18-inning special, and I wasn't one of the main guys. I was the last guy, and he contributed in the most major way. It was extraordinary to watch.
And his story is fascinating, Travis, because he was designated for assignment. He was DFA'd by the Mariners in late May. The Dodgers ended up getting a trade for him, and they brought him on board. What did he do? He pitched in 14 games from when he arrived to the Boys in Blue, when he went June 21st through September 26th with the big league club. Out of those 14 appearances, Travis, he only allowed runs in 3 of those games. So he had been solid when he was there. And here's the kicker for all those people on TV saying it's like, Dodgers fans, you didn't know who Will Klein is and this and that. I'm like, we knew the name. We had seen him. He was out there. It's like, hey, it's different for people who are watching the World Series without watching Dodger baseball all year long. We had spoken about Will Klein before in this podcast. We had been on him before. And of course, he hadn't been with the team until he returned, in September? Mid-September is when he came back. And he played for a couple of games. But Will Klein, man, an unexpected hero. But we have to shout out the whole bullpen because literally every guy available out of the bullpen played. Why? Because Glasnow only went 4 2/3 innings. Banda came in a third of an inning. He got the guy out. 1 2/3 innings for Robleski. 1 hit. Treinen came in a third of an inning, 3 hits, 1 earned run. And that was the one where it was like, man,
Oh boy.
The Dodgers make a mistake taking Robleski out of this game. Fortunately, it didn't bite them in the you-know-what. You had a Dryer for a third of an inning. Sasaki, he came in the 8th inning. I had mentioned it yesterday, Travis. I said, hey, would you pitch Sasaki for 2 innings? And you're like, well, it's game 3, maybe no. And the Dodgers needed each and every one of those 5 outs that he got.
Yeah, no, everybody that had a role in that game stepped up. Literally everybody did it. And you have the guys that only got 1 out, like Clayton Kershaw and Jack Dreyer, like it all contributed to the stew that was that game last night. And there wasn't one person that didn't play a huge role in that. I can't wait to see what happens tonight, how they try to put a patchwork together to get through another 9 innings. Obviously, you got to get a little more out of Shohei than you got out of Glasnow. But yeah, every single person that went out there last night contributed to that game in some way, shape, or form. And that's what made it a classic. And obviously the Dodgers winning it takes it to a whole nother level, because I can't imagine what the Blue Jays are feeling right now, having emptied the chamber the way that they did and coming away with it with a big fat nothing, knowing that Ohtani's gone nuclear, knowing that the Dodgers may have uncovered some more relief arms. It was the best possible scenario for Dodger fans. Just wonderful. I loved every second of it.
In extra innings, Sheehan, 2 2/3 innings. Kershaw, a third of an inning. That might have been his last game ever as a professional baseball player. Edgardo Henriquez, 2 innings.
Terrific.
And he didn't allow a single base runner in those 2 innings. Will Klein, 4 innings pitched. He was my MVP for the second half of the game. I'll say this: Will Klein, the MVP on the mound. Shohei Ohtani, the MVP at the plate. 9 times he reached base. That's ridiculous. The record in postseason baseball was 8. The record all time was 9. So Klein gave the team the opportunity to win it, and we still haven't spoken about who actually hit the game-winning home run, because Freddie Freeman delivered huge. Another huge swing in Dodgers postseason history. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we talk more about this marathon of a game.
The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans, cheering on your team. Imagine being in the ballpark last night. Can you even imagine what that must have felt like? But let's be honest, getting tickets, that can be a hassle between the queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout. It is a frustrating adventure at times, and you know that. But not if you're using Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time at the best price. Plus, all the fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. You can pull up Gametime, and in just a couple of taps, you can find some amazing deals. I'm talking about finding your favorite NFL team for as low as about $100. And the app is super simple. You can see the view from your seat. And like I mentioned, the price you see is the price you pay. It's not tap, 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 and all of a sudden there's 40% more on there that you didn't even see. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, for $20 off. Swipe, ticket, tap, go. Download Gametime today.
Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find my co-host Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Rodgers, just like Dodgers, replace the D with an R. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Freddie Freeman walks it off in the 18th inning. The Dodgers take the lead in the Fall Classic for the first time. If you stayed up late last night like us, you were rewarded. 18 innings, 6-5, and a single swing that broke Toronto's spirit. Freddie Freeman, the definition of steady. All season long, all his career came through when it mattered most. Bottom of the 18th, he sends the ball dead center. Gone. Ball game. That swing gave the Dodgers their first lead in this 2025 World Series, and it felt like destiny, Travis.
It did. What was so crazy, and maybe this is a compliment to Freddie Freeman and a compliment to a player that, you know, whenever Freddie decides that he's had enough, you can start the clock, and exactly 5 years after that, he's going to walk into the Hall of Fame and be one of the great players in there. But you almost expected it, Harry, right? Like that's the level of competence and just incredible faith that I think Dodger fans, I'm sure Braves fans felt the same way when he was in Atlanta for a long time. Like, oh, okay, Freddie's up, the game's gonna end. Like that's just what Freddie Freeman does. He's that consistent of a performer, and he got close a couple of times in the early innings. Like he was hitting the ball hard. We saw Will Smith have one that I think he thought had gone. Teoscar Hernandez had one that he thought he was gone, and they were talking about it on the broadcast with Joe Davis and Smoltz. Like it was, the air at Dodger Stadium. The later it gets, the heavier, the thicker that marine layer comes in. The ball's just not traveling. And for Freeman to go dead center tank to walk the thing off in the 18th inning speaks to how much pop he still has, speaks to what a great hitter he has, what a great approach he had. And they just kept firing. And then he was the guy to win it. Not even a little, you knew they were going to let Ohtani do it. And you knew that it was going to come down to something like that. It was just a matter of, are the Jays going to hit one or the Dodgers going to hit one? And if somebody hits one, can the other team respond? And the Dodgers thankfully did it first. The Dodgers got their best guy or one of their best guys up at the moment. And I think the surprising part for me is that it wasn't surprising that Freddie Freeman walked off another World Series game, because that's what Freddie Freeman does.
That's what he does. He's the guy. Yep. And we got to talk. It's not just Freeman. Of course, he had the signature moment at the end. We already spoke about how Shohei Ohtani went absolutely berserk in this game, about Will Klein, about this bullpen giving you 13 and a third innings. It's the entire team, because you look at the stats at the end of the game, and the Dodgers had a grand total of 16 hits and 10 walks in this game. It's crazy that they were only able to get 6 run-ins, but it's the same case with the Blue Jays, who had a total of 15 hits, 9 walks, and they scored 5 innings. Travis, you look at that box score, the Blue Jays scored out of 18 innings, they only scored runs in 2 of those innings.
Yeah,
the Dodgers pitching was pretty great. The thing here is, there are still things that people might have forgotten from earlier in the game. That 4th inning, Tommy Edman, that ball going underneath his glove opened the Pandora's box to be able to, the Blue Jays, have a big inning and get the lead in that 4th inning.
And that was one of the things I loved about the game, because that was about as rough of an error as you're going to see. I mean, and especially for a player like Edman, who's a former Gold Glove winner at second base, to make a mistake that crucial on such an easy play was stunning. Like that's just not what Tommy Edman does. I get it. It's sports, and weird blank happens all the time, but you certainly did not expect a play like that from a player like that. But then Tommy Edman redeems himself with not 1, but 2 extraordinary defensive plays. That play that he made behind first base to throw the runner out at third was as good as you're going to see. The relay from Teoscar Hernandez into the right field corner, where he throws the runner out at home plate. If that throw's not on the money, who knows what happens there? Like, they just keep coming. They are a group of professionals. They are a relentless machine that even when the machine kind of falters temporarily, it gets right back and starts grinding it again. I mean, there were a bunch of mistakes along the way. There were some bad at-bats. Max Muncy was 0 for 7. I mean, it's just, there was some stuff going on in that game. It's like, but there was always a response. Every time it got difficult, there was somebody that would step in, whether it was Edman, whether it was Sheehan, whether it was, certainly Dreyer, Henriquez, how many times we talked about, okay, there's no role for this guy. And then all of a sudden they're thrust into these moments where one mistake could potentially lose you the game, and they just don't falter. It was a real pleasure to watch it. I can't wait to see what happens tonight. And I'm so excited that those guys that were getting pummeled in the bullpen, and look, I'm as guilty of it as anybody else. They pitched so poorly for so long. It's like, man, I just can't stand to see them go to the pen. And we knew it was going to happen. We knew there was going to be a game where you had to lean on those guys, and every last one of them responded. And, I'm not a part of the team. I don't have any skin in the game, but I'm like, I almost have a sense of pride that they responded the way that they did and were so tough and so competitive and so resilient that, I feel like I have a little ownership in it. It was great to see.
Yeah, and you can go back to that 4th inning, looking at it in the Blue Jays perspective. Alejandro Kirk, another big moment, a 3-run home run. that flipped the game from the Dodgers having a 2-0 lead to Toronto taking a 3-2 lead. And then looking forward at the game, when he got on base, I believe it was a walk in extra innings, that you have John Schneider taking him out of the game and having a pinch runner for him. And you didn't have that bat the rest of the game. George Springer, in this game, you had him get injured after being 0 for 3 in his fourth at bat. He felt something on the side of his body. He was taken out of the game. So right there, the top of the lineup wasn't the same. You had the guy that was behind Bichette, behind Barshow, out of the game, which in my opinion, if the Blue Jays had won game 3, which that wasn't the case, Alejandro Kirk would be the clubhouse eater for MVP for them in the World Series in case they had won it. Ain't gonna happen, but Kirk has been having an amazing World Series. You made that decision, Schneider. You took your best bat right now in the World Series to put in a pinch runner because he looks like me, because he doesn't run very fast. So that was your decision. When Blue Jays fans, somebody on one of our YouTube shorts from the post game said it's like, well, the Dodgers got lucky. We didn't have our best players in extra innings. So I was like, well, that was the Springer one. That's an injury. That's baseball. The Kirk decision, that's on you. You made that decision. You think the Dodgers are going to be like, let's take out Will Smith in this spot because he doesn't run as fast as Ben Wartfett.
Hey, they might. That's the thing. That's what makes these extra inning games so wild. You have no idea what's going to happen next. You're crossing your fingers that that's the run that decides the game. I mean, we saw it, right? They took Andy Pages out of the game. All of a sudden, Alex Call's taking at bats. Oh, it's just that, like, this is what happens. I get it that Kirk is. I agree with you, Harry. He's clearly been the Toronto MVP to this point. He's been terrific, and every time he comes up, it's really scary. But this is what happens in extra inning. Again, it's not luck. It's just what happens in an 18-inning baseball game. Guys are coming in and out of the lineup nonstop. And they made a decision. But like you said, Kirk doesn't run well. So if that's the game winning run potentially, and you think that you're going to get a guy in there at the last moment, you got to make that decision. It didn't work for Toronto. It did work for the Dodgers, and that's just baseball. That's not good luck, bad luck. That is an 18-inning baseball game. That happens all the time.
And we saw Dave Roberts manage this game doing just 2 moves in his lineup when it comes to in-game. Kike Hernandez out, Miguel Rojas in to bunt to perfection. Incredible. He was great. And then Andy Pages taken out after going 0 for 5 in this game. His batting average down to .083. And Alex Call came in and he had 1 hit in 3 at-bats. So that's going to be another big question mark. Do you keep him in?
I think that there's a chance that you're going to see Alex Call play center field tonight, or they'll put Edman in and they'll kind of shuffle the deck in some other places. But seeing Call come and Call looked comfortable in those situations, and I think that's a big part of it too. It wasn't just that he came in and survived; it's that he came in and he looked like he was ready for the moment. So I think maybe you do try something here. I will say this though, Harry, you know me, and the everydayers know me. I am a former player that is very superstitious. And when you are 11-2, which is exactly what the Dodgers are in the postseason, 11-2 against the best teams that baseball has to offer, I wouldn't be dying to shuffle the deck, right? That you when you're on a winning streak, you respect the streak and you continue to do what's worked. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Pages out there either, but I do think that he's hit that point where you at least have to seriously consider making a change or maybe going to a pinch hitter a little earlier in the game if you feel like he's coming up in a spot where it may make a difference.
Was I unfair with this tweet yesterday, Travis? Because with the Alejandro Kirk home run, I'm pretty sure you saw Pages like get to the wall, but then not jump and go for the ball. I tweeted, is it too much to ask for Andy Pages to at least give it a shot and jumping for that ball at the wall? It's the World Series. It's the least you should do if you're batting below 100.
Well, that feels aggressive, but I like it. I'm here for it. Yeah, look, he's in a funk. If you're not hitting, let's try to do something defensively. I was going to say try to do something on the bases, but you got to get on base to do something on the bases, which he has been unable to do right now. But look, I'm sure he is fighting it. I'm sure he's probably the only guy that went home last night thinking, "Oh my God, let's get me some help out here." But yeah, I feel for the guy because he's the only one that is really kind of in the deep end of the pool right now.
Absolutely. And then Teoscar, I love it that later in the game he was able to hit his relay guy because
Yeah.
when he had that opportunity, what was it, 7th inning, when
Yeah.
Bichette had one incredible at bat that he grinded out, and that he was able to get the single off of Blake Trinan or doubled now with Vladdy Guerrero Jr. Man,
Yeah.
he's a guy that looks even bigger than I do. And he ran from first to home and he was able to get that run. He grinded it out. The ball took a funky bounce off of a sound guy out on the right field baseline. And it's like, ooh,
It's like a terrible hop.
Teo, though, instead of throwing it to a cutoff guy, he went straight home. The throw was completely off the base. And it was like, right now, we're like, okay, we won the game. We're good. That lesson, he learned it because later in the game, he was like, all right, where's Tommy Edman? I'm throwing it to Tommy. Tommy takes care of the ball later.
Well, this is the thing. Like, every time the Dodgers needed to do something right, they did. Like, there were some mistakes to be sure, but they covered their mistakes effectively with some pretty good plays in some other parts of the field. But none of the mistakes were fatal when they had to execute the way that you had to. Like that ball that goes from Teo to Edman to Smith to cut down that runner at home plate. If either one of those throws is a little offline, that play doesn't work. Instead, both throws were on the money. They throw them out by a comfortable distance. So, the Dodgers are not the world's greatest defensive team, but they executed when they needed to. They made plays when they needed to. And, they're a couple of games away from going back to back now. Every play they needed to make, every pitch they needed to make, every time somebody came up, when they were Ohtani, to come full circle, the home run he hit in the 7th inning, they were behind. Like this, every time they needed something from that, it was he was able to deliver it again. And I think everybody on that team can really take some ownership in. Without my contribution, we don't win that game last night. Every single one of those players.
We're halfway home. 2 wins down, 2 to go in the World Series. Now, can the Dodgers push Toronto to the brink? Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, we'll break down what Game 4 could mean with Ohtani back on the mound and why this game might be the game that defines the Fall Classic. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. It's free. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers postcast show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. Now, can the Dodgers put Toronto against the ropes? Game 4. Travis Ravine, Ohtani on the bump. That's the setup for what could be the defining night of the Dodgers season, Travis. If you go up 3-1, you have a commanding lead and you only got to win once in the rest of the World Series to get that commissioner's trophy. If you don't get the win, then it's a best-of-3 series with you going back to Toronto.
Yeah, it's something like 65% of the time, if you win Game 3 after a 1-1 start to the series, you end up winning the series. So it's obviously a very big win for the Dodgers to get it. And I'm a little conflicted, Harry, because I'm sitting here in my little home office here, and Shane Bieber's pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight, who is a UC Santa Barbara Gaucho like myself. So I do not want to see my Gauchos get knocked around, because the Gauchos, we stick together and we root for each other and we want success for one another. And Santa Barbara does not have a million guys in the major leagues. We're getting more than we used to, but I think I'm going to have to lean a little Dodger. So let's knock the Gaucho out of the game a little early. Let's make sure that we get to Bieber, because they're ready to be. You've heard me say this before. They're ready to be shoved off the cliff. Toronto's good. Toronto's tough. I would imagine they're waking up this morning saying, "Hey, look, we're all right. We just got their bullpen is shot. We got a good guy going tonight. We've got all of our guys back. We can absolutely go out there and do what we need to do." But they're ready to be shoved off the cliff. If the Dodgers can go and jump them early, I really do think they're ready to go. But if you get into another, one swing, one ground ball, one bad pitch situation, they're one swing away from feeling great about it, sending it back to Toronto in front of their fans. So the Dodgers need to go out and take care of business tonight.
They're going to have Alejandro Kirk back on the lineup.
Yeah.
George Springer is a question mark. We don't know if he's going to play or not in today's game because it's 3 games in a row. He was taken out of yesterday's game, which it feels like a forever ago when he got taken out midway through his at bat. But I mean, the good news right here for the Dodgers is that their bats finally broke through. It might have taken 18 innings, but for the first time in this series, the Dodgers scored more than 5 runs. That's a huge mental barrier to break. Exactly. One more than 5. That's all we needed.
Yeah.
But I mean, you look at that box score, 16 hits. You had 10 walks. You had Shohei Ohtani with 4 base hits. Teoscar Hernandez with 4 and 8 at bats. Of course, you would like more from the rest of your lineup because it was crazy seeing Mookie Betts going 1 for 8, seeing Max Muncy going 0 for 7. It's like, okay, maybe we need a little better. Andy Pages going 0 for 5 in this game. It was like a great opportunity because look, their bullpen, they're not a world of just the best bullpen pitchers in the world. No, they've been struggling as well throughout the postseason. So it's like, okay, you got to the bullpen. What are you going to do against them? And both bullpens, they were like, hey, it's our time to shine. And they sent this game to 18 innings.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Harry. That the Blue Jays are not a team that's like, our bullpen's awesome. We'll throw our bullpen at you all night long and feel great about it. They didn't, and they found a way to cover 17 innings as well until Freddie did what he did. It was quite possibly the greatest baseball game I've ever watched with my own 2 eyes, certainly considering the stakes, certainly considering the offensive performances from a player like Ohtani. Certainly, you put in the fact that it's probably the last time you're ever going to see Clayton Kershaw on a baseball field. And that was probably the most high stress at bat I've ever watched in my life. I think he threw 8 balls in 9 pitches and still somehow got an out. And Tommy Edman has to shovel the ball to Freddie Freeman with his glove. And just everything about it was bananas. But I can't wait to do it again tonight because I know it's not going to live up to game 3, but let's keep it going. Let's get a game closer.
And right now we got Ohtani, not only his bat, but also his arm up on the mound. He has a chance to bury Toronto. And after seeing what the bullpen had to endure last night, Travis, that's exactly what LA needs. They need a long outing from Shohei Ohtani. We need at least 6 innings out of him because it's that kind of game where it's like all the bullpen was spent last night.
Dude, Yamamoto was up in the pen at the end. That's how crazy it was all over again. Look, I have no idea what to expect from Ohtani other than it's Ohtani, so everything on the table, right? He may throw 9 innings tonight, and look, it would be one of those, yeah, okay, why not? It's Ohtani. He does everything crazy. He was on base 9 times last night. 9 times he was standing or running around the bases or whatever it was. He's attempting steals. He's running hard. Like, that was a physically demanding night for sure. That wasn't an 0 for 4, or a 1 for 4 where you're sitting in the dugout all night long. He was out on the bases every single time he came up to bat. So I don't know how much that takes out of him on the mound tonight. Like I said, it's Ohtani. I discount nothing. If he went out there and struck out 14 guys, I wouldn't be shocked. If he went out there and had a bit of a rough day, I wouldn't be shocked just considering how much they asked of him last night. But it's Ohtani, man. So, everything's in play. Literally everything is in play.
Dave Roberts yesterday told Tom Verducci from Fox Sports that after Will Klein, the Dodgers might have needed to use a position player in that final inning that he was out there in the 18th inning, but Klein went out there. He grinded it out. You mentioned Yamamoto, who volunteered himself on 1 day's rest to be able to go out there. That's nuts.
It is nuts. It's nuts to a degree that not only 1 day or 1 day of rest after throwing what he did, he's thrown back-to-back. Nobody throws complete games in the major leagues. He's thrown 2 in a row in the playoffs, and now he's volunteering to come in the highest stress situation possible a day after he's done that. Forget about it. If Yamamoto wasn't already a Dodger legend, and he is, then that certainly would have cemented it. Just him going down there and warming up was a miracle, much less getting in the game.
Yesterday, I was texting with one of my bosses with the Raiders who was at Dodger Stadium, and he's like, dude, who is going to pitch for the Dodgers now? And I was like, Yamamoto's in the bullpen. He's like, shut the front door. Really? I'm like, yeah. And he volunteered, and I was giving him all the 411 from what I heard on the broadcast. He couldn't believe it. Fortunately, we didn't need him. Klein got. I thought it was going to be Kershaw winning the game. When he came in for that out, the Dodgers walk it off, and Kershaw gets to walk into the sunset of his baseball career with the win in the World Series. But no, it was just to extend this game. We needed each and one of those guys out of the bullpen. And look, this team is locked in. They're confident, and they sense it. The finish line is getting closer, and we are just 2 wins away. And if they can do it at Dodger Stadium, Travis, Los Angeles is going to go crazy.
Let's get another parade going downtown. I had a great time last year. I'm ready to do it again. Shove them off the cliff today. Do not get, if they win today, game 3 is like, oh yeah, all right, whatever. That's ancient history. It's 2-2, and now you're in a 3-game series like you mentioned, Harry. They win tonight, and game 3 becomes legendary. Lose tonight, and it becomes yeah, okay, cool, but we got to get ready for game 5. So let's take care of business.
Yeah, it's just going to become a note in your scorebook where it's like, all right, this series is now a best of 3. Let's see who wins 2 out of the last 3. No, let's just win these next 2. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Dodgers. Before the show's over, shout out to my buddy Clint Roberts, diehard Dodgers fan. We used to collect autographs together, go to autograph signings. We met at a Matt Kemp signing back in 2011 or 2010. We literally were on lawn chairs outside of a cell phone place overnight after a Dodgers game to get that Matt Kemp autograph and photos. So Clint, he says he listens to the show every single day while he's at work. So thank you so much. Today's a little longer one because it's just like yesterday's game. We went extra innings. We went extra innings today, too, here on Locked On Dodgers. If you enjoyed the show, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Tomorrow, Wednesday, what will we be talking about, Travis? Do you have an idea? Maybe
I got an idea. He's tall. He hits dingers. He strikes guys out, and he's from Japan. And I think we'll probably be talking about him tomorrow.
Shohei Ohtani in Game 4 of the World Series. Tune in Wednesday on Locked On Dodgers. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.